We have some fairly significant casting announcements from earlier this week, and well, the first one right here, okay, and Mark Ruffalo returning as Bruce Banner / the Hulk, and it's kind of interesting phrasing that they have right there for Spider-Man Brand New Day. That's not so much a new announcement of a new character, unlike the other two that we're going to be discussing, and one I guess is for a brand new character, and the other one is, well, we'll get to that all in due time. No, it's just because Mark Ruffalo, back when there was that big Avengers Doomsday chair stream, his name was very conspicuously missing. And the fact of the matter is, what was it? Only Thor was like one of the legacy Avengers to be kicking around in that. So everybody was wondering, like, where's Hulk? It's not like anybody was really pining for more Mark Ruffalo. It's just like when it comes to standalone heroes in Marvel, like you got Spider-Man, and then right under that is Hulk. And it's so funny, right? Because Marvel, when it comes to film distribution and rights, like, it's just so hilarious because they have to work with Sony in order to further the story of Spider-Man, and they have to work with Universal in order to get rights to the Hulk, because they can't do a standalone Hulk movie, even though I thought there was something about those rights ended up lapsing and they ended up getting them all over at Disney. We talked about that, like a year ago or something like that, but apparently not, okay? It's still stuck in limbo. That's why they tried to backdoor in She-Hulk to get as many quasi-Hulk stories as possible, and then introduce another variation of their second, or depending on if you want to rank everything in there, because it's like it's Spider-Man and then it's X-Men and then it's the Hulk right after that. Like, I don't really think that that's too controversial to say, at least from a comic book and from a branding standpoint. It's like those are the biggest characters, those are the biggest heroes, they have been forever. You can retroactively now start to say like Iron Man and Captain America, but before the boom of the MCU, which we're getting shockingly close to 20 years now, just think when there were animated series, and hell, when there was live action superhero products out there, what did Marvel have for their output? Spider-Man on both sides of the equation, and then of course like the landmark Lou Ferrigno, Bill Bixby series from, what was that, the late 80s? Marvel, man, that's so funny how they can't use a two, and more recently they didn't have access to the three biggest IPs under their umbrella. It's so crazy, right? It'd be like over at DC if you couldn't go forward with like a Batman project because somebody else was using Batman and that project was stuck in limbo. Oh, right. Or if you couldn't use like iconic designs for, say, I don't know, Superman, because you're worried about the original design of Superman hitting public domain in a couple of years. Oh, right. I guess that's why there's just so much trouble with getting any of this stuff off the ground. But as I mentioned a little bit earlier, this isn't really an announcement. It's more or less a confirmation, because, at the tail end of last year, somebody who responded to this tweet right here let loose that, Mark Ruffalo is going to be coming back, and it's not going to be Professor Hulk, it's not going to be Smart Hulk, it's not going to be Dabbing Hulk, it's not going to be Cuck Hulk from She-Hulk. No, this is going to be Savage Hulk, and he's going to be squaring off against Superman, but he's also not going to be alone, because Spider-Man Brand New Day is also supposed to feature John Bernthal's Punisher, and both of them are supposed to be mind-controlled against Spider-Man, and, well, if this was in a vacuum, that would be cool as hell, because I do love me some Hulk, honestly. I have for a very long time. Hell, some of my favorite video gaming memories, especially from the PS2 era, involved, Spider-Man 2, fantastic game. But then also its companion piece, I think it came out a little bit before, maybe a little bit after, probably a little bit after, just based on some of those technological advancements. But Hulk, or what is it? The Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction. That was a banger game, okay? The fact that we haven't got more Hulk content like that is just another reason why I'm just not like a big fan of the MCU, and especially because, we had Edward Norton to begin with a movie that I think gets way too much hate, especially if you want to compare and contrast it with what we have now. But 2008's Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton, far better than anything that Mark Ruffalo has done with a character, and Edward Norton nowhere near as big of a bitch as Mark Ruffalo. But that's it's very interesting stuff, and shout out to Gary from Nerdrotic from getting the scoop at the beginning. So I'd imagine, right, because this is apparently supposed to be the next thing coming out for Marvel after Fantastic Four. Like, this is the next movie up after they kick the Avengers can down the road for another 6 months, and I would also expect that to be further delayed from there. But you're looking, what is that, 10 months, 9 months between releases. It's going to be interesting. But if you're going to have a Spider-Man 4, you're going to have the Hulk, and you're going to have Punisher in it, yeah, that's probably enough keys to jangle to get people to the theaters in order to stoke a little bit of excitement to bridge the gap between Spider-Man 4 and Avengers Doomsday. 2026 could end up still being a big year for Marvel, but a lot of the maintained hype, a lot of the rebuilding of the enthusiasm, rebuilding of the brand is going to rely, regrettably, on a bunch of those goofy-ass TV shows, because we got one right around the corner in Ironheart, which it's so funny, right? Because a couple of weeks ago, we got those trailers, and Disney has been rather silent about promoting that's coming out, in less than a month? 26th of June? Yeah, that's going to be such a train wreck. But after that, right, between Fantastic Four and Spider-Man 4, you only have one confirmed series, and it's Wonder Man, who I have absolutely no idea what he is. I think from what I've heard before, he's kind of like Marvel's version of Booster Gold, kind of a wannabe superhero that eventually gets powers. I don't know, man. Realistically, it's probably a character they could have got over if the MCU was cooking, but right now it's definitely going to be a long shot to get anybody enthusiastic about that series. But something else that has been rumored for a while, okay, and is probably some of the most long-term planning that the post-Endgame MCU has ever put out, because when it comes to their series, right, like outside of Loki, there hasn't been a season 2. Well, I guess you're going to be getting a season 2 for Daredevil Born Again, but if a series airs on a streaming service that nobody has a subscription for and nobody watches, does it really air to begin with? But yeah, there was kind of a pseudo plan to have this big overarching story told across 3 separate shows, okay? We're supposed to get the culmination of that trilogy of storytelling with one of the next series that I think is in development right now, and it also involves some people that weren't a part of the Chairvengers stream, and that would be Vision. Okay, Paul Bettany didn't have his own chair, but that was because he's supposed to have a series going on right now, and potentially Chris Pratt is going to be in that Vision series, because it's either supposed to be Vision or Vision Quest, and it's the culmination of a story that began with WandaVision, and then its second installment was apparently Agatha. Yeah, make that one make sense. But yeah, this is going to wrap everything all together, and I guess we have casting for the big bad in that series. Okay, so we got Tania Miller, okay, has been cast as Jocasta in Marvel's Vision series for Disney Plus. Now, that's those are a whole bunch of proper nouns that I have no fucking context for at all whatsoever. I had to do a little bit of background searching, but we have some information as to who Tania Miller is. But as for Jocasta, I had to do a little bit of research for myself here, because that's a name that not even tertiarily, not even with some of the Marvel games like Marvel Ultimate Alliance, I don't remember her name ever coming up. But apparently this is supposed to be the wife of Ultron, created, okay, by Hank Pym, repurposing the memories of Janet Van Dyne. So as you can see by casting Tania Miller, who, with the panel that we have side by side from that tweet right there making the announcement, yeah, Jocasta has been updated, and she got upgraded before to fit a certain narrative. So yeah, this is another example of, oh, okay, cool, we could go with the original design for the character, or we could just go ahead and move forward along the timeline with everything that Marvel has been doing post Endgame, all new, all different stuff. Totally makes sense that they'd go down this route, and that they can also hire somebody that is a very vocal activist, okay? And you know that realistically, as long as she can keep her activism to a minimum on screen, might be good casting. I don't know, man. I think she was in like a Mike Flanagan project or something like that, and she was quite good in that, so I'll just go ahead and reserve criticism until we see more about this. But Marvel's Vision series has found its Jocasta, with actress Tania Miller cast in the starring role. According to the trades, she is believed to be playing one of the leads opposite Paul Bettany as the titular character. It has also been said that James Spader will be back as Ultron. Interesting, with rumors offering possibly in a human form. Wait, what? Ultron is a okay, whatever, man. Okay. In the comics, Jocasta is created to be the wife of Ultron, where Jocasta is built from the brainwaves of Janet Van Dyne. Yeah. And some of the early concepts, well, at least the concept art that we have right here, that looks pretty based, and it looks really cool and very complimentary to Ultron. But yeah, the early work of Jocasta, looks a lot more like Janet Van Dyne, who in the MCU was played by Michelle Pfeiffer. Not so much Tania Miller. If you know, you know. Anyways, following that concept art leaking, yes, pictured above, which was initially thought to be for Avengers Doomsday, it was actually thought that Jocasta would be the female Ultron, okay? And who is Tania Miller? Well, Tania Miller is an LGBTQ plus pro-Palestinian actress. Yeah, make that one make sense. She's known for Gangs of London, The Haunting of Bly Manor, La Fortuna, Foundation, and The Fall of the House of Usher. Okay. And she played the female general in an episode of Doctor Who. Well, won't hold that against her. But yeah, a couple of Mike Flanagan projects that were very well received. All right, okay. Vision or Vision Quest is said to be taking place following the events of WandaVision, where Vision is trying to regain his, yes, memory and humanity, and then also hunt down Coom Vision that we see right here, or try to make that. It's like, it's just all, it's, I don't know, man. Like, Marvel is so convoluted and weird, and casting like this with ancillary female characters, it's like, yeah, you guys continue to do you, and we'll be talking more about this, I think, over the weekend in regards to the health and the overall future of the MCU, because it's not really making a lot of sense. And ultimately, this is going to be a drop in the pond. It's kind of like how they're introducing Mephisto in Ironheart, played by Sacha Baron Cohen. Oh, fantastic stuff. Great. You bring in, you know, one of the top tier Marvel villains and you just stick him in a disposable TV show. Fantastic stuff. You try to redo Ultron and you're going to just stick it in the dying days of the Disney Plus streaming show. Good stuff, man. While this might ultimately be a forgettable casting with a forgettable character, forgettable villain, and a forgettable story, something of a little bit more consequence is that they just dropped, okay? HBO and Warner, just being a really silly company, okay, and a very desperate company, announced the casting of the Trinity for the upcoming Harry Potter series. And honestly, it's not exactly what I was expecting. Okay, not at all whatsoever, because there was that meme that was running around earlier this week as well, and they had that chick that was, and I use the word chick very loosely in this context, but the one who played Juliet to Tom Holland's Romeo for, what was that, like a London play or something like that, and I mean, it was a meme, and the text of it was what was far more important was HBO or Warner was eyeing a black actress to play Hermione, and it's like, yeah, I've said this for a while. I was dead set on either Hermione being Indian or the Weasleys just being black, because we know what Hollywood loves to do to gingers. But to see a fiery redhead cast as Ron? I mean, I'm a little bit shocked on that one, okay? And Harry looking exactly like Harry was like, that's good casting right there. And then you got Hermione. And they did the thing, man. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, I'm actually fine with the casting, but honestly, you couple this with Black Snape and you know, okay? Because Draco Malfoy has a little bit of a penchant for bullying and bothering Hermione with a certain phrase. Starts with mud and ends with blood, and you not think that because they cast an African to play Severus Snape, one of the most bullied, misunderstood, intensely complex characters that J.K. Rowling has ever written, you don't think that race is going to play something significant in the books. They had prejudice already. They already had bigotry. Yes, when it comes to pure magical bloodlines, you have your purebloods, you have your mudbloods, you have your muggles, you have all of that stuff that's right there. If you want to tell a story about bigotry or classism, it is right there and ready for everybody to do. But no, you have to go with something far more on the nose. And yeah, I hope all these kids are fantastic actors. I really hope that they know what they're getting into, because if you go back in time and you ask Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, and Emma Watson if they knew what they were getting into when they were first, announced to be a part of those movies, okay? If they really thought that this was going to be their defining role and it would be as big as it got, I remember when that casting took place, and that was at a time when only like 3 books was out, because when was the first movie? 1999? And this is a series that's going to be going 7 seasons, and oh yeah, it's going to be a decade-long commitment. No, bro. You take a look at what everything else that HBO is doing, and specifically with, other adaptations that are out there, like, a lot of the Song and Ice and Fire stuff, okay? The fact that season 3 of House of the Dragon just got delayed on top of what should be a very easy story to tell. 6 episodes for the first season of Dunk and Egg. It ends up getting delayed to the beginning of next year. Like, if you can't, in a timely manner, turn those stories around, How are you going to do something this complex with this much CGI, with this much importance placed on it? If you think it's only going to be 10 years to tell 7 increasingly more complex books more faithfully to the source material, you are out of your mind. I seen the casting and it's like, it's fine, man. But at one point in time, I was really excited for this series. And then you got an American cast as Dumbledore. And it's like, oh, John Lithgow's pretty good, I guess. And then you started to get rumblings about Black Snape. And it's like, oh, Christ almighty, they're doing a fucking race swap again. Okay, maybe it'll end up working out like, Corlys Valerian and House of the Dragon, which is fine stuff. Okay, it's a different story that you want to tell. I'm not exactly married to source material when it comes to anything. So yeah, if you want to go ahead and try to tell something a little bit different, there could be some leeway there. But now you're gonna cast Hermione in a certain way, and it's like, I don't know, man. Just don't get enthusiastic about anything, really. But Dominic McLaughlin will play the role of Harry Potter. Arabella Stanton is Hermione Granger, and Alastair Stout, what a great name, is Ron Weasley. More than 30,000 actors auditioned for the lead role since HBO launched an open casting call last fall. Filming is expected to begin this summer. After an extraordinary search led by casting directors Lucy Bevan and Emily Brockman, we are delighted to announce that we have found Harry, Hermione, and Ron. The talent of these 3 unique actors, they're like, 10 years old? Bro, I don't really care, and I'm not going to put any of the blame on them, okay? I was a kid of a certain age in the UK, and I knew that this was basically a ticket to, 10, 15, 17 years at most, okay? You just work for that long, and you're essentially set up for life. I don't blame anybody for showing up for trying out, okay? Including that, 35-year-old man who wanted to play Hermione. What about Jason Isaacs? Okay, nobody wanted to give him a call. He said he wanted to play Hermione. Anyways, the talent of these, 3 unique actors is wonderful to behold, and we cannot wait for the world to witness their magic together on screen. We would like to thank all the tens of thousands of children who auditioned. It has been a real pleasure to discover a plethora of young talent out there. Yes, said showrunner Francesca Gardner and executive producer and director Mark Mylod. Yeah, in a statement. Yeah, that's all fantastic. But there's still quite a few castings that are out there because, yeah, we have Snape, we have McGonagall, we have Dumbledore, we have Hagrid, and we also have, who else? Oh, the groundskeeper, right. Groundskeeper Willie. No, I'm joking, but there's still a bunch of other, the kids and teachers and... Oh, yeah, and Quirrell. Quirrell's already been casted. But it's going to be a few years before we figure out who's going to be Dumbledore. Or, I'm sorry, not Dumbledore, rather, but Voldemort. Duh. Who's going to be Tom Riddle? Who's going to be Dean Thomas? And eventually, when the Ministry of Magic starts coming in, who's going to be Kingsley Shacklebolt? I wonder if they're going to be getting their Hermione treatment. I wonder if they're going to be getting the Snape treatment, or if we're going to have faithful casting for those characters, because it's so funny, right? And then hearkening back to the Joe Costa stuff, it never, ever seems to go the other way. Once they get cast in a certain light, they remain in that certain light. It's so funny how it always seems to happen that way. But even with all of that, I wish the best for these kids. I really hope that the show is very good. I hope I hear good things about it, because I would really like to get back into that groove of looking forward to a Harry Potter project. It's been a long time, and with HBO in its current state, I have zero goddamn hope. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.